Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Welcome to the Sunday chat. And I'm going to try and get back to doing a specific orchid thing at the end of the Sunday chats. Because recently they've just been chat. And in some cases an orchid hasn't even been mentioned. And there's me calling it my Sunday orchid chat. Well, I did change it to the Sunday chat. Nonetheless, I think we ought to start having an orchids thing. And although it's not much, today the thing at the end will just be me watering and having a quick look at my mounted orchids. There's about 15 altogether, something like that, so it won't take too long. Some are not doing very well. On that subject, they will probably end up in the orchid clinic when we start that next week. I still haven't quite finalised in my mind whether I'm just going to do, I don't think one plant at a time will be a very good idea. So I'll try and work out some sets, so groups of plants that have possibly something similar going on with them. But in all cases the clinic will be about orchids that are not doing as well as they should. And this will be a series. It's not a project as such, because it has projects have a start and an end. Well, this will have a start next week. There is no end. The only way I could end that particular series would be to throw a lot of plants out so that there would be none left to go in the clinic. So that's we will work on them until I'm either fed up or the plants themselves give up. So that will start next week sometime. Where are we now? It's the 2nd. So in 6 days' time it will be the 8th, which implies I believe it will be Saturday. And Hannah's down next weekend. It's also the Orchid Society's garden party, which is why Hannah's coming down for the weekend. So everything in bloom on the 8th probably isn't going to be on the 8th. I'll probably do it on the Friday. To get it away from the weekend, so it'll be early. It's normally late if I can't do it on the actual 8th, but we'll have that to come. That'll probably be the world's shortest video this time. There isn't much going on, and that's the story out here as well. It's the growing season, and for most of the types of orchids I grow it's not the blooming season, so there's not much going on. We had a look at the cymbidiums, and the only thing going on there is new growths pushing on. Some more than others because they've started a while ago, and some are still just starting. They'll be the ones that bloom later into next year, you know, sort of February, March time. So they've still got plenty of time to mature those bulbs, but you know, some of the new growths are only just starting. The other thing I might do, just as it's a reasonable type of video, is go back to not one shelf at a time, but one genus at a time. Now, some types of orchids I've only got one of. The one that springs to mind because it's under my nose. I only have one Sarcochilus. Nonetheless, I could still do a video about Sarcochilus, because I have one. I'm not doing videos about types of orchids I don't have. What would I film? You know. So I'm only doing ones about that sort of thing. Now you could say that we started that yesterday because I filmed all of my cymbidiums as I was watering them. So that was like an update, a look and a chat about cymbidiums. So we could do that sort of thing. You know, I do have groups of orchids, Oncidium types, Masdevallias, Dendrobiums. You know, there are sets of orchids, but there are some that, you know, there's just one or two of. So we will look at that. Just talking about the orchid clinic, the group of mounts there directly behind the camera, there's only one on there that's not going in the clinic. There's only one that's growing well. None of the other plants on that rack are doing well. Over here is not so bad. And then there's, you know, obviously this one You can't really fault that, that's doing very well indeed. Gets much bigger, it'll be dangling on the floor. And we've even got some blooms. So certainly can't complain about that. And it's got a few roots as well. So if all my plants were doing that well, I'd be over the moon. Now, sorry, the guy is working on his structure. Still don't know what the structure actually is. He's still done, I mean, I don't know what he does as a trade, but he's actually built that structure on his own, whatever it is. But yet again, I'd have to criticise several things. First of all, he's built it in the corner of the garden farthest away from his house, and it has 3 gardens neighbouring that corner. He has a Leylandii hedge, if any of you know about those. They can grow several feet a year. They are rampant conifers that can grow 30-40 foot tall that people plant as a hedge. And instead of keeping them as a hedge, they forget them and let them grow to the point where they've gone beyond a hedge and there's not much you can do about them. Because unfortunately they don't grow back into old wood. So if you let the plant get, say, 20 metres tall and you cut it back down to 2 metres tall, you will open up the centre of the tree and nothing will grow there. So you'll have a hole with green all the way round. That it just looks stupid for a start, and it'll allow all the bad weather to get in there as well and probably end up killing the trees, or some of them, and then you'll have 1 dead one, 2 alive, 1 dead, and it'll just look stupid. So you have to keep on top of them. Now, he's trapped his Leylandii hedge between his structure and his 3 neighbours' fences. And the gap's about that big, probably a metre. Those trees are going to push the fences over. Now luckily they probably won't get at mine because I'm the other side, you know, they've got 2 fences coming together, the corner of his property, and then mine comes out here. So I will probably be safe. But it won't take much to push that corner. As you know, that fence is not exactly brilliant in the corner there. But yeah, stupid place to put it, really. And then on top of that, criticism number 2, it's got a flat roof. What do flat roofs do? They end up leaking because it's been felted. And that will eventually break down. Constant sun, rain, followed by freezing. What on earth was that? Sounded like this. Of course, with the dry weather, the acorns are going to start falling without maturing because the tree's going to start dumping them. It won't be able to support them. So lack of rain, so that was probably an acorn coming down. I think what else it could have been, but who knows. But yes, the drought continues. It's official. There's quite large parts of the south and the east of England are now officially in drought conditions. You know, you don't normally get droughts confirmed in this sort of country. You can have areas of Spain that have declared drought, sometimes parts of Greece, Cyprus, things like that, but it's mainly in Africa, you know, bordering on the desert sort of thing, not in the UK. But a friend of mine, Helen, took a picture of some storm clouds from her garden saying, yes, we want rain, and then the update the following day said, and we didn't get any. And she had counted 42 days and counting. That was back in the week, sometime I forget which day. So it's more than 42 days now, and the forecast for the area where I am, the south and the east of England, shows no rain for another week, at least. That's going to take it up to 50 days with no rain. We're not saying not much rain, no rain, 0. And I don't ever remember those sort of conditions. I've just got into a routine as far as the garden is concerned now. Every other day I water the garden with the hose, which means I water the planted border, the bit behind me where the bird feeders are. I give that a good soaking, and then I use the hose to go around, do my bonsai and the garden tubs, you know, the geranium, buddleias, the other things that are planted in tubs, and I give the ground cover on the gravel beds a drink as well. But they've got no depth to them, you know. Okay, most of them are Mediterranean style plants. They can grow without water for some time, but there'll come a point where they'll die. I don't want to miss that point because I'm out all day, and that was the day that did them in. So they get a drop of water just to wet the surface, which is where the roots are, because underneath the gravel is a membrane. Now it's got some holes in it, it has started to break down in places, but in the main there's a membrane under the gravel, so they haven't got much root run. So giving them a drink as well. So yeah, one day I water with the watering can, and about every third go, so less than once a week, but nearly once a week, I put some feed in. And then I water my bonsai and the tubs with the watering can. They tend to get a bit more of a drink from the watering can because they get a good puddle, whereas with the hose it's more of a just wetting type thing. And then every now and again with the hose I wash the plants off. I actually wash my bonsai and, you know, give the leaves a good wash. But they get dusty, they get pollen from the oak tree and other places. They get dusty, and when they're dusty they don't photosynthesize as well, and they don't get as much light, literally. So I give them a wash off. So that's what I'm up to in the garden. There's things that I'd like to plant and move in the garden. There's no way that's happening with the sun the way it is, the drought the way it is, and the heat. Add that in as well. We're back into heat wave conditions in certain parts of the UK. Again, it's like a diagonal line from sort of halfway up Ireland across the north of England and out into the North Sea, and everything that side's getting rain and is much cooler, and everything this side isn't and it's much warmer. But forecast for today in parts of England is up in the low 30s again, tomorrow even warmer, and the forecast for the week is just little pretty pictures of suns, and possibly with a cloud round them. But no rain, nothing. That's for another week. Now that's going to be good in one respect, because the garden party next week is not much fun if it's raining. Okay, Alan has loads of like, not marquees, but like tents with no sides on, if you know whatever that's called. Awning, I think, or something like that. But he has loads of places where we can get under cover and sit and still have a chat and everything. But it's not as nice, because it's nice to be able to stand around where you want and not have to worry about getting wet, plus toing and froing from the house and everything. But one thing that will happen is I will be filming Alan's grow spaces, so you will get to see somebody else's glass houses. And you've seen them before. We have a garden party every year. I usually film every year. So if you have a look at my videos near the beginning of August, going back through the years, you can probably find them. And once I even filmed Lynn's greenhouses. The trouble is I can't remember what I called the videos. And if I didn't put a sensible title on, then they're virtually impossible to find. The only thing about the garden party is that it's at a regular time of year, so you can aim at, you know, around a date. But yes, so I shall be filming Alan's glass houses on Saturday. That will get posted the following week. That will probably end up having some music. It depends. Hannah and I are aiming to get there a bit earlier so that I can get my filming done before the rest of the people arrive. Because once people arrive, there are always people in his greenhouses, because he's got a very narrow walkway. So, you know, it's like a one-way system with sort of turning sideways to pass people. It's for the plants, not for people. He's normally in there on his own, same as me. But he hasn't got anywhere near the amount of space that I've got. He's got a lot more plants. I think I asked him to count them once and he estimated 700 to 800. Now I know he hasn't got as many as that now, because he had a spate of being quite ill, had to go in hospital quite suddenly and everything, and he lost quite a lot of plants while he was in hospital and recovering. He used to grow a lot of phragmopediums and he lost most of those at that time. Lost quite a few of his Draculas and, you know, stuff that needs to be constantly moist. And it wasn't, because he wasn't well. You know, this can happen to any of us, you know, the hit by a bus syndrome, where you're suddenly taken away, sat up in, well, hopefully sat up in bed in a hospital being looked after, and when you're ill like that, your family that come and visit, if you're lucky enough to have some family to come and visit, the last thing they're worried about is your flipping orchids at home. They're worried about you, you know. So hopefully I won't get that, but who knows, you know. And talking of health, the dodgy ticker is, when you get large organisations, fundamentally the people who work in them, the people who do good stuff. The people who muck it up is the admin people. The people that you often have to get past to get to the aforementioned working people. And I mean that right from the top, you know, from a surgeon down to somebody who sweeps the floor. They're the people who do. The one sat on the desk at the front in the entrance is the admin. That's who you have to get past and deal with. Are they highly qualified, trained people? Probably not. And that's what messed up my visit. I had a referral from my local surgery where I went to. I saw somebody and everything, and they said, I'm going to refer you to get an x-ray and also to get an echo and a chat with a specialist. So that's 3 items, isn't it? But only 2 places to go. One for the x-ray and then one for the echo and see the specialist. And the referrals were done in a timely manner, like in a couple of days. My x-ray was booked and done within 2 weeks, and the results were posted in a few days after the x-ray, saying that there was nothing to worry about, basically. Everything was all clear. And I got a letter from Poole Hospital saying that they'd received a referral and they would get back to me to make an appointment. Well, they never did. And on the letter it had a date. If you haven't heard from us by this date, phone this number. You phone that number, it's general inquiries. They can't help you, but they'll put you through to the number that can help you. And you get a recorded message asking you to leave a message and they'll get back to you. So you leave a message and they don't get back to you. Yeah, it's admin people again, the people at the front end. So anyway, I managed to phone this number that you can never get through on, and somebody answered. So I said, you know, I've got this referral and everything, and I haven't had my appointment yet. She said, I'll book your appointment today. And the word that stuck in her mind was echo. You need an appointment for an echo. She didn't look at the referral to see that the other part was to see and speak to a specialist. So when I got there for my appointment, I had my echo and got kicked out. I didn't get a chance to chat to anybody or, you know, say what the problem was or anything. Just, there's your echo, that's what your appointment was, away you go. It's funny actually, because I was quite early. I wanted a coffee basically. Because of course once you get to the hospital there's toilets, so you know, if you have too much to drink at least there's a toilet handy. So I thought I'll get a coffee. So there was a Costa in the sort of main reception area, so I went in there. I eventually got served. How the hell it can take 10 minutes to make a black coffee I really don't know, but obviously it's done in the order of the orders, not in the simplicity of the orders. So anyway, I eventually got my coffee. You can't drink it. It's probably about 98 degrees C. You can't touch it, yeah? And it's in a cup specifically designed to keep it hot, so it won't cool down. So anyway, it got much closer to my appointment, I thought I'd better go and find this cardiac unit. And that was quite funny. Both in the Bournemouth Hospital and the Poole Hospital, the cardiac unit is the farthest point in the hospital from the car park. So the people with the dodgy tickers have got the farthest to walk and the biggest number of stairs and mucking about trying to find where they got to go. Anyway, so I took my coffee into my appointment, put it down. My appointment was on Friday. It cooled down enough to drink by Sunday morning. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so I asked about, you know, results and everything, and they said, well, we do our bit and post it and everything, but it's the surgery that will contact you to have a chat about it. So, you know, it's instead of that department dealing with the thing there and then, tick the box, job done, somebody else has now got to get involved that wasn't there. They weren't at that appointment. They didn't see the pretty pictures and the funny sounds and stuff. If you've ever had one, you know what I mean. So they're going to pick that up cold, aren't they? Yeah, they'll miss bits. This is how things go wrong. Anyway, I shall patiently wait. Everything else to do with my local surgery where I go is done efficiently and quickly. And, you know, if I go for a blood test, I get a text saying, can you book a blood test for so-and-so, 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 here is the link. Well, I don't bother using the link, I just log in online and go to appointments, book an appointment sort of thing. But you can't book a blood test unless it's registered that you need one. Yeah, so having got the text, I have to wait a couple of days. And then you just book the appointment and then go, you have the blood test, have a nice chat, and 2 days later your results are up. You know, it's good stuff. So dealing with them is okay. So we still don't know this, I forgot what it was now, BNP, something or other to do with my heart, which I had to have a specific blood test for, and the value was elevated. And there can be various reasons for that. One of the reasons it can be elevated is AF. I know I've got that already. But it was the fact that it was up the high end is why I had the echo. And the idea was to, you know, my idea is I want to know if it's getting worse. Not what it is. What it is, how I am, I can live with, I can deal with it. I want to know if it's getting worse. And the only way to do that is sequential. In other words, perhaps go back in 6 months' time. Which I can sort of go bang on the desk and get that done if I think I need to. So that's that. What else? The hole in the fence is still a hole in the fence, and is probably going to be for a bit till I get round to it. It suddenly dawned on me that it's been there a long time. The only reason I want to get it done really is to get the fence painted. There's no point in painting the fence and then putting, you know, a different coloured wood on the bottom that's then got to have its own individual coats on. It needs to all be done at once, but there is no rush. And I didn't want to get out there at the weekend because I'll have an audience, and it's people who work and everything, that's their rest time. That's when they want to go and have a sit in the garden quiet. So I decided not to do it over the weekend. I'll do it sometime in the week, preferably when it's cooler. Although this morning was cool, if my setup had been geared up to my winter temperatures with the heater and everything like that, I've got a feeling that might have clicked on. It said 12 on there and 15 on here. I didn't come out and have a look at the real one, but I reckon it was 13 or 14 degrees in here this morning. That's pretty cool. It's back where I'd like it to be. You know, those are good nighttime temperatures for the type of things I grow. There's a few things that'll object to it, but tough. Can't please all the plants all the time. With the range that I've got, that can't be done. So that's that. And apart from watering a bit more frequently and remembering that I've got the RO unit on and I don't want to flood the place, I tend to forget when that's running. I get sidetracked, like perhaps doing something on the laptop or something, and I forget that the RO unit's going, because from in there when the door's shut I can't hear it. Out here I can hear the drip. I doubt if the camera would pick it up, but I can hear it anyway. So I know it's running, and it reminds me, like if I was out here watering all my plants or something, I'd know that was running. But that's the reason it's on. I've got enough water to water my plants. Strictly speaking, my potted, my normal pots should have been done today. They'll have to be done tomorrow now. So I just had a look and I thought, I've only got one container of water left. That's not enough to do all the plants. And also I need some water to make sure the trays on my Sarracenias are topped up. They must not dry out. That could knock them over. Whereas with the high humidity and everything out here, the plants can go another day. They're not, as I said, orchids very rarely die through lack of water. Mounted orchids might, because obviously they dry much faster. And if you've got bare-rooted mounted orchids, or almost bare-rooted, you seriously got to keep on top of them. But again, most orchids have got canes or pseudobulbs of some sort, which are storage organs. At the end of the day, they have an element of survival within them if they do get a dry period. Because even in the rainy seasons, there's got to be an odd time when it just doesn't rain for a day or two. Well, I think. I've never been there, so I don't know. But yeah, that's good. What else out here? There's not much. As I said, the things like repotting, that's on hold at the moment. Because of the excess heat. I'm not disturbing roots on plants, in this sort of weather. We'll wait till it cools down. We'll either do the work towards the autumn, or it'll just have to wait till spring, when things start coming back into growth. But that's quite a long time, because things come into growth later here than they do other places. So we shall see. The old wildfires are still going. We've got them. There's a area of special scientific interest, nature reserve. I think it was on the Suffolk coast. That's a large portion of that's burnt. They've said it will be decades before that recovers, if it ever does. It's the wildlife and the special plants and all that sort of stuff, they're just gone. You get trees often recover because the wildfires in these sort of conditions, they move so quickly through that they don't burn the whole tree. It's still green on the top bit because it's moved through, and there's not enough to actually carry on burning. The conifers tend to really get going. And the thing that burns badly on heathland is gorse and heather. That really does go. So we've got our own in this country. There's been a big one up in Scotland that's been burning for days and days. But they've got rain now, so they've got some help. So that'll continuous rain will not only damp down, it'll put smouldery bits out and get down into the ground. Make sure they don't reignite, but I don't know whether they've had enough rain to actually do that or not. Yeah, what else have we got? We've got amount of usable daylight. Currently, the actual chart that I use shows that the daylight hours are 15 and a quarter. 15 and a quarter. Yes, by the end of this month, August, it'll be down to about 14 and a half. But remember, that's the sunrise breaking the horizon to sunset just as it disappears. At least half an hour either side of those 2 points is not usable light. Not for orchids, under glass, because they're not in the full light anyway, because they're in something. So you can knock an hour off. You know, so the amount of change is quite high at the moment. We're well up into three minutes something, and by the end of the month it'll be heading up towards the 4 minutes, the maximum. So yeah, the rate of change is high. It is becoming noticeable. I'm managing to sleep a bit longer nowadays without a certain alarm clock, and often, you know, I get up to go to the loo like most older people do, and I look at the clock and I sort of think 3:15. Now, in those old days, I'd have just got up because it wouldn't have been worth trying to go back to sleep, especially in the summer when it gets light early. But I do go back to sleep now, you know, so I'm getting more hours in bed, which is good, because a lot of the hours that I'm up because of that early start are not useful hours. You know, they're not usable to me. I don't get to do much. But yeah, so managing to stay in bed a bit longer now, which is good. It's going to take a while for my body clock to properly adjust to believing that 6 o'clock is a sensible time to get up, because it still hasn't done that yet. Sometimes it still thinks 4 o'clock is okay, even though it's not. Of course it's dark at 4 o'clock now, whereas it was well on the way to getting light. Well, it's not now. It's 5 o'clock and it's not properly light, so you know, mornings are, it's getting light later and getting dark earlier all the time, as it does every year. It's nothing new, but it's when you take it for granted a lot of the time, and then suddenly something makes you notice it. You see what I mean? Yeah. The other thing I keep meaning to do is step outside just after dusk and see if I've still got some bats around here. I keep forgetting to do it, because I do believe there are bats around. Be difficult to film those, obviously there's not enough light, and they don't half move quick. And they don't move in predictable pathways. They don't sort of fly like a lot of birds do in a predictable path, so you can sort of pan. You know, they're all over their flipping place, aren't they? So very difficult to film. And quite honestly, to film them properly at night, you'd need a high-speed camera. You know, so a lot of money's worth, thousands and thousands of pounds worth. Talking of thousands and thousands, I'm sure most of you saw on the news that mass invasion of that tiny little bit of Spain on the end of Africa, on that right hand side of Morocco. That's an invasion. That's not funny. And the amount of police or the authorities could do nothing about it. That's what's worrying when it gets like that. You know, I mean, if there was some sort of uprising by certain people in this country, you know, we've got an army and an awful lot of policemen. It would probably be able to be contained, if not immediately, very soon after. Because you might think twice about arguing with the police, but you need to seriously think twice about arguing with the military. They're not trained to muck about. Yes, so that would sort them out. But I think they've had to send some reinforcements out there. But apparently most of them have turned round and gone back. But not all of them. Of course, they're undocumented. Nobody knows who they are, where they've come from. And I bet I know that most of the people that haven't gone back are not from Morocco. They're from farther down, which is where all the trouble lies in other parts of Europe. Anyway, we shall see. Other troubles in the world. There's a certain individual that's always causing trouble in the Middle East that seems to have gone a bit quiet lately. Have they stopped being a nuisance? Of course they haven't. It's just not getting reported because other things are taking priority. That's how the media work. You know, Iran and America are the big news story because they're starting to do tit for tat and everything, and Yemen have joined in, and I think Saudi Arabia have joined in. You know, it's tit for tat up in the air, down bits. There's no men involved, you know. And that's the way warfare's gone. I saw a programme on what Ukraine are up to. Because they can't always get the type of weaponry that they need to fight their war against an invader, don't forget, that's an invader. They have been invaded, their country. It's not a border dispute. It's a direct invasion from one country into another that is now occupying it. Just like the other troublesome lot in that little bit of coastline. It's an invasion. You are occupying a country that doesn't belong to you. So some of the weaponry that they've actually invented and made themselves, because they got fed up with waiting for the supplies to come in from their allies, they're doing their own thing. And they're doing it incredibly well. They're making the equivalent of cruise missiles for about a fifth of the cost, with a longer range. And they're using them very well. So, yeah, the tide is turning. That doesn't change an awful lot on the front line, the actual men bit, the conflict bit, where real people are actually involved some of the time. Doesn't change much about that. But, you know, there's important sites now deep into Russia that are getting taken out. The type of weaponry that was needed to do that was refused by Ukraine's allies. So they've just said, stuff you, we'll make our own then. This is needed. You know, we're fighting to get our country back and keep it. So yeah, good stuff. And we had one of those magical overshoots as well, where one of the whoopsies like that actually went a bit too far and landed in Poland. Luckily it landed in the middle of nowhere, because obviously that was out of control because it didn't go where it was supposed to go. So it went wrong, basically, overshot, landed in Poland. That's a NATO country. Watch it. But yeah, again, a little bit of huffing and puffing. Was anything done about it? Of course not. Never is it? So those troubles continue. And I believe that a lot of the world are becoming blasé and thinking, yeah, same old. You know, well, that's how the media and people accept the media reporting. You have to bear in mind that we get to hear and see a lot more of what's going on than we ever used to. So we get a lot more detail. So perhaps we could do without it, who knows. So those things continue. Are there solutions? Well, the easy solution to solve the problem in Ukraine is for the invaders to just turn around and walk away and stop doing the up and overs. Job done. Would Ukraine then invade the invaders? No. It has no vested interest in doing that. Just wants its own bit back. So that's easily solved, isn't it? You think that's going to happen? No. Not while the main individual are still in charge. Does that look like it's going to change? Difficult. When you're in a country like that, the people can't instigate change, because the people will be suppressed. I mean, that's what happened in Iran. Lots of people that objected to the leaders, the regime, went out and protested. A lot of them just got shot, and an awful lot of them just disappeared and have never been seen again. So difficult to protest under those circumstances, isn't it? So we can see, and I can see a relatively large spider over there that I don't like the look of. It's too small to tell whether it's one of those false widow spiders, but there's getting a few around. You know, I've got cobwebs appearing in places. They're not that easy to clean. You know, I can get the hoover up there with the extension, but they're becoming a nuisance because there's a few around. I mean, I saw one up there that disappeared over the side. So I think I'll just have to get the hot box out. So we'll just have to do that. But that's the easy solution, especially as now worrying about ventilating the place and who's going to be running through isn't a problem at the moment. It's only me to worry about, and I can go round if I need to. So, hello, woodpeckers are off again. I think what he's doing now is when he put the felt on the roof, he flopped it over the edges. I think what he's doing now is he's putting the proper edging on to hold it in place, and then probably trim it. I don't know, I can't see. But yeah, I think that's what he's doing. So it's quite a large structure. That's an awful lot of edge to do. Doubt we get all that done today. I don't know. As I say, I can't see because there's hedges in the way. The hedge in the time from when that structure went up has grown enough now that I can't see the roof line. That's how much that's grown. So I could see the roof line. It suddenly appeared. You know, there was some bits of framework and stuff like that. Suddenly there was a flat roof and I could see it from here. I could see the roof line. It's now below the, you know, it's in the denser part of the trees. So, alright, that's nearly cold. So, what are we doing here? What are we doing? That's gone on far too long on the grounds. I still want to do the mounts. I am still going to do those because I said I would. But it's a relatively quick thing, and I don't want the camera there. I want the camera sort of here, I think. If I put it there, and then as each mount either goes past the camera or gets brought down, I can hold it up to the camera. We'll have that a bit lower down. Right, so we'll start over here. And as I said, virtually all of these are going to go in the clinic. This is a twinkle. It's been nearly thrown out several times, but recently, you know, got the back end of the plant's rotten. It's got one good bulb that actually flowered. That's the spike, and it now has a new growth, and it's pushing out some roots. So it gets to stay temporarily. That's Oncidium Twinkle Pink Profusion. And it's now a wet pink profusion. I just take these down one at a time, water them and put them back where I got them from. So it's quite a quick exercise. Now this dendrobium, unfortunately, no, I can still, strangely enough, this has faded now so much that what was black has gone paler than the colour of the label. It's actually readable now. You won't be able to read it, but I can. It's some where has it gone? Brymerianum or something like that. Brymerianum. But basically this was two pieces, one up here that's dead as a doornail, this one down here with a cane that's got leaves on, so it's not dead, and now we have a new growth at the base. So this has come back to life, it's recovered. So it gets to stay. It only just made it. It's only the fact that it has one cane with leaves on, or it would have been gone a long time ago. But it hasn't got a good root system. Hopefully that new growth will grow some. So it gets to stay. And now the one that's doing fine is this one. This is Dendrobium nobile, the species. It's the variety Cooksonianum. It's grown some good roots. It's grown a new cane from the cane I already had. This was a kiki that came from Lynn a while ago, and it did not want to grow. And then it's just suddenly burst into life, so that's doing fine. That would be the one that wouldn't have gone in the clinic because there's nothing wrong with it. It's grown a new cane, it's got a root system. It's old cane, the other leaf cane with leaves on. The leaves are starting to yellow, so it is going into autumn. I doubt if it's big enough to bloom yet. Then we come down a layer and we have A sad looking thing. This is Miltonia flavescens. This was organised by INSA as more of a flipping challenge than anything, I believe. It won't grow. I cannot get this to grow. But recently it has, I mean this is just an old shriveled bulb and the plant is nothing. But it has grown this recently. A very, very weak, feeble attempt. It has swollen, it has got a little bulb here, and it did produce a few roots. From the amount of time I've had this plant, it's never grown roots. How it's managed to survive this long, I don't know. It's only just hanging in there. As I said, it's that little new growth has produced a few roots. What it needs to do now is push another new growth out and grow a lot more roots. Otherwise it's probably not going to make it. This is another Miltonia, it's a hybrid. Again, I mounted it after unsuccessful attempts in various media in pots. Stuck it on a mount, it's pushed, it's two pieces. This piece has grown a new growth up here, this one's growing a new growth here. Neither of those new growths have started producing roots yet, which they need to do. I do believe there might be another new growth coming down in there as well. But it's hanging in there. I class that as just about hanging in there. Just about. But I wouldn't say it's growing well. And then I was specifically asked for an update on this. I'm not going to water it because I watered it earlier today. This is the Psychopsis. Now, this has had everything wrong with it that you can do to a Psychopsis. I don't know how it was grown by the person who sent it, or whether it was organised from a nursery. These things I don't know. But what I do know is these seriously do not like any form of root disturbance. They need to be set up in an environment that they're okay with and left alone. Because sometimes it can take them a year to settle down after a disturbance. So this was sent to me bare rooted. Now at some point it can't have been grown bare rooted, it was grown in a pot or on a mount. So at some point it was taken off of there, major disturbance, stuck in the post, sent to me, bare rooted. I've mounted it with some moss, and most of these roots, these are dead roots. These are not viable. So all these roots hanging out here, they're not viable, they're not hydrating the plant. But we do have, tucked up in here, a nice new growth, and that has produced a few roots. But these leaves now, all of them, are starting to show serious signs of dehydration because the roots it's got are not functioning properly, and as you can see the pseudobulbs are quite shriveled. They're not getting hydrated. The root system is not working. So this plant is totally reliant on that new growth. You can see there is a new root there with a green root tip. One, there are some others in the moss. It's going to be totally reliant on that new growth getting a good leaf. That's not going to plump these bulbs up. Now that they've shriveled like that, that's it, they're gone. And they may well lose their leaves as a consequence. But we have a front end to the plant that's growing. The flower spikes, of which there are two, they have so far had two buds that have swollen up and blasted. We will go over the reasons for that in the plant clinic. So that's definitely a candidate. I'm not sure I'm going to succeed with that. It's got a failed root system. Right, down here we have 4 Restrepias. This is going to be a long video. It already is a long video. This one's been on the mount the longest. You can see that the moss has settled. It's got a little bit of algae on it. It's also grown an awful lot of new growths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one's doing well. And this is, it says, it's Falkenbergii, which is one of my first ever Restrepias. that was a very, very large plant, but it died virtually, and I managed to rescue a few pieces and mount them, and it's now successful. But it's not Falkenbergii, and I forget what it actually is. Brachy something or other. I was speaking to a Strepia expert at Burnham's that explained the differences and showed me one of each, and when you see them next to each other, the difference is obvious. This one is Antennifera, and it's the variety Frontino Giant, and this is what's left of Hannah's, and it is growing. It has pushed out a new growth, but it's only just hanging in there, only just. But nonetheless, once we get away from this heat, these are going to do a lot better. But they're low down, they get some breeze from the oscillating fan, and they're quite shady, so they're trying to get away from the heat as best they can. Now this is a Capria, but it's a hybrid, because basically this came from Burnham's through their own laboratory. Basically one of their Caprias got pollinated and produced a seed pod, but they don't know what pollen it got pollinated with, so they can't say. And I've seen this bloom, it is a hybrid. Nonetheless, we've got some nice new growths. This is the one that needs that doing to it. Does that look a lot better? Yes. So I just need to move the hook up the other end of the bark. I keep meaning to do it and forgetting. And I remind myself every time I get it down to water, and I still forget. But it needs turning up the other way. These tend to grow upright. They're a spreading, mat forming plant. They're not normally a climber. So they spread out rather than grow up. Now this is the one that looks the tattiest, but it is coming into growth. But it had a lot of old, tired, manky leaves, and it's still not doing well. And this is Sanguinea variety A, that's a Burnham's name. But it's not doing well. It's one that doesn't like not hydrating properly and gets the crinkled leaves. Yeah, that's a sign of dehydration. And it's the latest new growth has still got it. So it's very poor on the root system front, but hopefully with some moss around it and some continuous moisture it should push some roots out. But that one's not a happy plant. The others are doing reasonable. Right, now we come over here. We've got my Dendrobium Victoria Regina, which we've had a look at recently, so I'm not going to dwell on that. Some new growths, some new roots, and another new growth out of the old part of the plant. It's two plants basically, this one and this one, so that's that. And this is a continuous grower. It comes from cool places that are constantly wet, so it's not a plant that should dry out, not even in the winter. It should not dry out completely. It's one of those that needs to be permanently moist, not soggy, not soaking wet, and certainly not dry. What's that one? Let me come on to the biggie. And this is Dendrobium hercoglossum. This is growing into quite a substantial plant. I'm having to get back here for you to see the actual size of it. You can see it up against me. It's grown an awful lot since I got it. Again, IMSA organised that. Came from Spice Exotic. And it's seriously heading towards a specimen sized plant now. I've seen some of these appear in shows. This is already a bigger plant than anything I've seen in a show over the more recent years. It's not as big as the plant I used to have around the other place, but that plant was more straggly. It had a lot more leafless canes. This has only got a couple. All the canes have got leaves on. It's a relatively young plant, but it's incredibly vigorous. Right, we're over here now. I am going to finish this. Ouch, nearly got cramp then. Right, this is Dendrobium jenkinsii. Unusual, but it's just pushed out a new growth at this time of year. It has, you can see there's a lot of white roots now. Those are all this year's roots, and it has grown some new growths. Not many, but some, and it's now pushed out another one. So this one's doing okay. It spent quite a long time doing absolutely nothing. Again, this was a plant, it wasn't a kiki from Lynn, it was actually given to me as it is. So it's got a tiny little piece of wood that it was on that looks like plywood. That will rot eventually, and that was strapped onto a bigger piece of bark to allow it to expand. So that's as I was given it. So that's that one. Ugh. And then its sister plant, Leylandii. No, don't be silly, that's a hedge. Lindleyi. So you can tell they're similar words, aren't they? This is like its big sister, basically, but they are different. They were once, jenkinsii was once classed as a variety of Lindleyi, or, oh, that's got another name that most people use. And it was the variety jenkinsii, but then they established that they are two entirely separate species. This one's grown some roots. You can see there's white roots. There's a huge amount of white roots down in this area, and it has pushed out 2 or 3 strong new growths. This may well bloom next year now, providing I can give it enough light in the winter. It certainly gets cool enough in here. It's the light that's the problem. But if I can get this into a set of circumstances where it thinks it's in a forest where the leaves have all dropped, then we may get some blooms on it. Cool, bright, dry winter rest. Otherwise it won't. So that's that. Ugh. It's mostly dendrobiums over here. But not this one. This is a Cattleya type. There's a really good label on it that's completely faded. It is Prosthetia garciana. I'll get her in a minute. It's producing some new shoots. It's not growing well. It's not growing well. These growths should be bigger than this, but it has produced some roots and it is producing some more new growths. If you look down here, there's a growth coming out each side of this growth, and then a bit further down there's one coming out here. So it is producing some new growth. There's a bulge over here, there's going to be another one there. So we've got some new growth. I hope they will be bigger and stronger than the previous lot. Now that's in the Cattleya Alliance. I've just seen yet another new growth right over on the far side as well. And the new growth in question is on this cane here, and if you look there's actually one each side. So this has got quite a few new growths. Cattleya Alliance, I got a feeling this doesn't like the heat. And do you know what else I don't think it likes? I think the light intensity is too bright over there, so I'm going to bring it over here. Let's try it in less light and see what it does. The trouble with that is that was actually shading a plant that doesn't like bright light. Well, not intense light. So this is my phyllum. This has nearly been thrown out so many times, but it has this new growth with roots and a couple of new shoots over here. These canes should be 2 foot long. Does it look like that's going to get to 2 foot long in this growing season? The answer is no, it's not. I don't know what it's going to do next, but it's not dead, it is trying to grow. But it tried to grow last year. You know, it's feeble, it won't get going. And the only reason it's still here is it has a little bit of sentimental value. It came from Alberto an Italian guy who had a nice orchid collection and YouTube channel and everything. Can't remember what his channel was actually called, but he gave up the collection and everything. Some went round to friends on YouTube. That one came to me, and he then moved to England because he got a job at Kew Gardens looking after the orchids. Those sort of jobs don't come up often. Right, this is Dendrobium trigonopus. It has flowered this year. Nice long-lasting fragrance, nice waxy yellow, but it has no sign of life on it. I want a new shoot that produces some roots on that, or that's going to fail. I've had 2 of these in the past and they both failed, so I haven't been very successful, but I'm pretty confident that the reason I wasn't successful was they got watered and ended up too wet in the winter time when it was cold. These are not cool growers, they're not winter resters, they're just drier in winter. And I think I kept it too wet and just failed. We'll see what we can do with it this time round. That lives underneath, directly underneath Lindleyi, which shades it. Now that, having just moved the Garciana, that was shading this one. But I've just put that large piece of bark with a film on it in its place, so it can still shade this one. Now this is Mr. Hairy version 2. Might even be version 3, I can't remember. But came from Spice Exotic on condition that it had new growths, signs of roots, and was a reasonable plant, not 2 or 3 tiny little pieces. So I achieved my goal. We have new shoots that are growing, and as you can see down in amongst the moss are new roots, and some are coming through the back. This failed for the same reason as the previous trigonopus. Too wet in the winter. This does not like to be wet any time of year. A hint of soggy and the roots rot. And this is a reluctant rooter. Each new shoot will produce a few roots, and that's it. And then older canes, the roots eventually shrivel and fail. It's never got a big root system, yeah? So it's one of those you've got to go very careful, because as soon as you lose your root system, the plant will just collapse. But we have 3 growths, yeah, and new roots. The blooms on that are very similar to trigonopus. Strangely enough, what section of dendrobiums would you think that came from? It's actually a black hair type, covered in silver hairs. Hence its nickname, senilly, old man, yeah, like mine. Mine's not grey, it's distinguished silver. And that will now be shaded by a film, just from that bright light from above. Right, what have we got here? What have we got here? No tag. What we've got here is star constellation. Come on, brain. Cassiope. It's a primary cross between nobile and moniliform. And that strange combination has produced vigour. This is a vigorous plant. However, it's got a slug or a snail that I've still yet to get. Because if you look at the branches on some of these roots, they've had the ends chewed off. It's not chewing any of the greenery. It's sticking to the roots at the moment, which probably means it's very small. Well, if it keeps eating the roots, it will eventually get bigger. The bigger it gets, the more chances there are of me finding it. But as you can see, these canes are still growing. It's getting bigger and bigger all the time. This one's finished growing, this has got terminal leaf. This one over here is still growing, and we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new growths to add to the canes there already are. See, if you look over this side, the roots have still got their green tips. So I can tell the little tyke's over here somewhere. I've yet to see it. But then I'm not working hard. I don't tend to come out here every night with a torch and try and find it. So I'm normally asleep in the chair by the time it gets dark, or up in bed. I don't stay up late, you know, I get up early, which is a habit I don't seem to be able to totally break, and I go to bed 9 o'clock or not long after, unless I'm still in the middle of watching a film or something. So I go to bed quite early. Some people say, but it's still light. Well, it's not when you shut your eyes. When you shut your eyes, it's dark. No matter what time it is. Right, this is J.K. Sooth. J.K. is for Jarak, the nursery in, can't remember whether it's Taiwan or Thailand, but out that way somewhere. This has come from Spice Exotic on one of these plastic mounts. Little to no moss. It's growing nicely. It's pushing out new shoots. We have some new canes. There's old canes with mealybugs on. I'll have to get that to go and get my. It's only a couple, and they're just on that growing tip. What about the other one? And the other one's okay. And we've got a couple of new growths as well. I have to keep my eye on those because the mealybugs will go for those. But yes, it's growing some new roots, it's growing some new shoots, got new roots poking through the back. But this, I class this as bare rooted. There's so little moss on that, you know, this is as near as damn it a bare rooted plant. So without fail, this has to be watered every day and given a good soak, front and back. Keep those new roots active and keep those new growths going. So that's that one, and the last one, you get to see some flowers, which are starting to go over. I was going to say at long last, but I didn't mean it like that, because these flowers have been out a long time. But as you can see, the first one's going over. It might just pinch off. It will if I put it down. It's spoiling the look. There we go. Now this is this very rare plant recently discovered, Jinghuanum crossed with Bensonier. Not bare rooted, but not far off. Nice strong new growth here, pushing out roots, and another not so strong new growth over the other side of the plant here. And we have these absolutely gorgeous blooms. Very, very attractive. A lot of the attraction is the deep chocolate spots down in the centre of the lip. Lovely deep chocolate spots. And then the delicate purple tinges to the petals and sepals. And a bright yellowy green centre to the lip with those dark spots. So, very attractive. I wouldn't have bought this. This came from the event at RHS Rosemore last year, and came from one of the foreign sellers that had come over, and he had mostly plants not in bloom, but with the label in front of the plants was a picture, so you could tell what the blooms were going to be like. The picture he had of this were of the species Jinghuanum, because I don't believe a hybrid had actually bloomed yet, so I might be one of the first to have got this to bloom. Probably certainly the first one in England, because he only had two. There wouldn't be any other way of getting those in the UK apart from those two. I don't know whether he sold the other one or not, but if he did, that's the two in the UK. There won't be any more. Wet hands now. Right, that's it. That's your Sunday chat. And that's a very long video. Blimey, very, very long video. If you're still here, well done. I would imagine the people that are still here are the people that are watering their orchids and they've just let it run on. Most people can't spare that amount of time, but if you have, thank you very much. It's most welcome. Thanks to all my members on the YouTube channel and on Patreon. Thanks for hanging in there. No new ones this time round, but no dropouts either. That's good. So we're, same as last week. And thanks for watching the channel. Thanks for sticking with the videos. Thanks for all your comments. Every single one of them is read and gets a response, even if it's just a heart to say that I've read it. Everybody gets a response. Most people get some actual words. And if you're not a subscriber, it would be very nice if you did so. Doesn't cost anything, despite the expression. It's just a tick box, and if you haven't got notifications set, that's the end of it. You just get my videos pop up in your feed. And don't forget the thumbs up. Again, costs nothing, it's a tick box, but it keeps YouTube happy. It's engagement, they call it. Yeah. I've done something, you've done something. It's engagement. They like that. And the thumbs up is the simplest form. The next simplest form, a comment. Combine the two and you've added a bit of momentum to the channel. And also how long you've watched, that length of time, yeah, that's retention, and YouTube loves that. So if you watched the whole video, left a comment, done the thumbs up and subscribed because you weren't, you can do no more. YouTube will think it's wonderful. And on a small channel like mine, we'll probably not do much about it at all, but we do what we can. Yeah. Anyway, I will see you in the next one. As I said, we do have the Everything in Bud Spike and Bloom sometime next week. It'll probably be Friday. We're going to start our orchid clinic, and next Saturday is our garden party where I'll be filming somebody else's orchids in their grow space, so you get to see somebody else. Quite honestly, Alan is he's a joint member in Bournemouth and Wessex, and he's one of the best growers, classed as one of the best growers for both. Yeah. When there's shows or displays, he supplies plants to either or both. Things like the NEC, where Bournemouth have got a display and so have we. Bournemouth are going, can we have some plants? And Wessex are going, can we have some plants? And he's going, because he has to share, So I think his priority is Wessex. Cheers. Anyway, so that's some things that are coming up. And thanks for sticking with this if you've made it till the end. You deserve a medal. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.